Hi, and thanks for coming to volunteer at the Providence Animal Center. It's a great place to be. One of the things that we want to talk about is our shelter cats and some of the interactions and things to help you and the animals stay safe. One of the first things that you really need to keep in mind is that no matter how cute, the cats are not your personal house cat and are not necessarily going to respond to you as willingly and as readily as your cat at home. Some of the things they have happened is they suffer some different traumas. Some of these cats were strays or free roaming, otherwise known as feral. So this whole environment is definitely new to them and interacting with people, especially. Some of them have been uprooted from homes that they've had for a long time, or even just recently and still settled in, but have had to come back out. Another thing is a lot of them have malnutrition and neglect. They've come from long distances across the country and have gone long transports, which can be scary and rattly and just traumatic to them. And major surgery. Most of them will be getting spays and neuters, which is a very big deal. And that can also be traumatizing, and that is stress. Even the sweetest of cats coming into the shelter can be influenced by numerous things that do occur here. They're confined to a small kennel or cage, the strange smells and sounds throughout the building, and as people come in and out, unfamiliar people being picked up or moved to new kennels, especially during cleanings and things like that, and being seen by people, and being around other cats. In understanding that the cats might not respond to you very well or may suddenly get a little nervous or anxious, one of the things that can help you is by understanding the cage cards. They have a bunch of information on them, and you can take a look, and it kind of helps you with some information so you might get to know the pet better, particularly if you're helping someone who's looking to adopt. The cat cards contain a lot of information as far as who they might be best matched with, if they're good with other cats or dogs. If they're nervous, there's a lot of information on there. If they're shy, if they're sweet, things like that that you can look at before you even begin your interaction. Throughout Providence, you will see special kennel signs on both cats and dogs. And the cats, it's very important that you really take a good look at it because it might have information not included on the card. It's also a good indication if a cat is just being assessed, if they're very nervous, if they have to be adopted together. It's just more information to give yourself as you start to interact. When you accept an assignment at Providence working with the cats, there's quite a bunch of information that you'll need to learn. One of the main things is about feedings. A lot of people tend to want to overfeed the cats. They feel bad for them. And it's not a good thing, and it does waste a lot of food. You can definitely ask information from any staff or even a more senior volunteer who might be in the room. But here you can see the basics on the cats. There's a special diet. Staff members will help you with that, will help you how much to get. It's always make sure the water bowls are full. I know cats don't drink as much as dogs, but they do need their water, and having it available is very important to them. And you always want to check beginning and ends of shifts, and if you're passing through in the middle, you can always check because sometimes they do get dumped. Observation is one of the biggest ways that we can help an animal at Providence by looking at things for their eating habits. One of the things you want to do is take note of if they're drinking a lot of excessive amounts of water. If they gulp their food, some cats eat very, very quickly and then it causes them to regurgitate. You want to see if a cat has a cold or what's called an upper respiratory infection. That disease can get spread through the saliva, and because of that, they might not be able to smell their food. And there are certain things that you can do to help that scent. The cats that like to hide when they eat, not all cats like to come running out for their food. Some, you want to put the food right by their box or their bed, wherever it is that they're feeling safe, so they don't have to come out of their safe area and feel like they're being exposed. Picky eaters, well, some of our cats, like we said, have been in other homes and they were used to a certain food, and they certain food times, so it takes them a time to adjust. You want to make sure that you tell any staff member or any senior volunteer to make sure that staff is aware of any of these difficulties or any concerns that you might have or observations. Another important aspect of volunteering with the cats at Providence is making sure that their homes or their kennels, as they're called, are kept as clean and neat as possible. Some of the basics that we do for every kennel is make sure they're lined with enough newspaper, that if it's possible they have a bed, if not a towel or a pillowcase, a bed or a box, something that they can hide in or feel safe. A litter box is always there. We have bowls for food and water, and we do try to use the heavier ones if possible because a lot of our younger kittens and young adults tend to play a lot and knock things over. And there should always be at least one toy available in each kennel. There's also a big condo kennel, which is called in the cat room. And that is pretty similarly set up, except there are a few little differences. You do the bed or a box, definitely a litter box, the heavier bowls or kittens if possible. Make sure there's always water, a small blanket or pillowcase, and at least one toy. Cleaning is a very important aspect of volunteering. It's a means of making the cats feel so much more comfortable and for reducing the possibility of continued infections from one cat to another, particularly if cages are moved. One of the things you want to do is make sure the bottom of the cage is dry all the time. You use Excel or Kennel Sol to disinfect the cages and the toys. When a cat's adopted or moved up front, clean out the cage and put new fresh papers and bowls and have it ready for the next one. Keep newspapers and shredded things off of the floor because remember, people do come into the cat room to look to adopt. If you notice that there's no urine or if there's loose stool, don't throw it out, the stool sample. We will need to get a sample, but please report any of these findings to the available staff or a senior volunteer. When meeting a new cat, it's always important to remember it's not your cat from home. They remember they have all the trauma and stress, even though they might seem happy to see you. Opening a cage and reaching in can also be another bit of a stressor for a cat. One of the things you want to do is locate the correct cat. You want to read the kennel cards and the kennel signs as we stated, and you want to look at their body language. Are they happy to see you? Are they nervous? Are they scared? You can keep at least one of your hands empty, and you want to block the opening of the kennel. You want to approach confidently and calmly and always latch the kennel door when you aren't at the entrance. And now, everyone's favorite, kittens. Kittens are definitely fun, but they can be a lot of work, and you might have to clean their kennels several times as they're rambunctious and playful. Kittens haven't developed an immunity to colds and diseases, so you want to clean them first. And you also want to clean them last too. Keep them separate from any cats that have an indication of having an upper respiratory infection. Because of that lack of immune system buildup that they have, they're definitely susceptible to catching that very easily. After the cleaning and the feeding comes the fun part, socialization. Every cat at Providence gets socialization. One of the things that we do learn is that different cats tolerate different levels. One of the things that is always a good way to introduce yourself to an animal, a cat, is by slowly blinking. Let them see you do that. It is an actual communication tool that cats do to let you know you're accepted, and you do it back to them, and they do recognize that. If a cat's a little fearful and nervous, you can get a tongue depressor and offer some baby food, or there's even packets of squeezed cat food that you can use. It gives that cat the room from you. It's still a distance. You're not overcrowding them, and you're offering them a treat. Playing with toys is another wonderful activity. One of the other things that you might want to do is start with a toy that's on a stick until you get to know a cat and its play techniques. But this will keep your hands safe, and it'll also give that same distance to a cat that's newer to you or newer to the shelter. Brushing is something that cats tend to like, not all cats, and that we will learn as you go by which cats are accepting or not accepting of it. It's a great socialization because it's co-grooming. Petting, we all know the cats like their chin scratched, but you want to stay away from that danger area of the belly and the butt. Um, Talking and reading to cats is very, very good too, particularly for our feral and very nervous animals. It helps them readjust to the human's inflections in their tones because we don't always speak monotone. And one of the things you want to do is let your friends know about it, because the more volunteers we have, the more socialization time we get, and the better a cat will be ready for adoption. Getting a cat out of a cage can be a tricky endeavor at times. There are two different ways that you can do this. You can use the scruff. You want to just get your hand on the cat, and that gives you a little control over the mouth part. But you want to also go under and grab their belly as you pull them out by that scruff. You want to be very careful. The other way that you can do it, if a cat's not resistant and not nervous and friendly, is you want to grab their belly, under their belly with both hands. Take your time. If a cat's resisting, hissing, fighting with you, close the door, walk away, and get help if you need to get them out. When you're holding a cat, always, always have your arm under its hind quarters. And if a cat needs to go back into the cage, you want to make sure they're completely supported when they're going back in. As stated earlier, one of our really important tasks at Providence is observation of the animals to make sure they're okay. One of the things that is very common is the kitty cold, or the feline upper respiratory infection, known as a URI. Now, some of these cats, the staff is already aware, they come in with them and they're under treatment. How you can tell is looking on the back of that kennel card, there will be a blue dot, and that dot might say URI, which means they are being treated. But what you want to do is, if you see a cat with congestion or sneezing or nasal or eye discharge, is to make sure the staff knows, particularly if there is no blue dot on the back of their kennel card. One of the big things that we need to do as we work at the animal hospital is to stay germ-free and not to cause cross-contamination with cats. We want to sanitize, sanitize, sanitize. We can't stress that enough. Any of the cats that have URIs or other treatments should be cleaned and let out last. You want to do them at the end. But after every interaction with any cat, you want to make sure you clean and sanitize your hands so that you're not carrying any disease to another. Cats are very expressive, and not just in their facial expressions. What you want to pay attention to is their overall body posture, their eyes, their ears, their tail, the sounds they're making, and how they're responding to things that are currently in their environment. A cat that's friendly and happy to see you and interact with you will display this in a few different ways. There will be some purring. They'll enjoy playing with their toys. Their tails will be vertical. They'll butt you with their heads. Their ears will be up and erect. They'll have soft eye contact, some blinking, as we discussed earlier. Their bodies will be loose and relaxed, and there might be some of that making biscuits or kneading with their paws. As we said earlier, cats are very expressive. They use their entire body as their language. What we want to pay a lot of attention to are things like their posture, if they're curled up and they're kind of in a corner, if their ears are flat back and their pupils are very big, they're frightened, they're afraid of you. Another thing is that they seem threatened. Their ears will be completely flattened out to their sides, and they will be making some noises at you. The tail is a very good indicator. If they're irritated, that tail will be flipping and flapping. You can tell if they're looking to stalk, if they're a little anxious. It's a good idea to get to familiarize yourself with what different things the cats are trying to tell you before you interact or during your interactions. Cats also vocalize and tell us a lot of things. Did you know that they can make over 100 different sounds? We're just going to quickly run through the most common that you'll encounter, and that's the meow and the purr and the chirps and trills and chirps, mostly when they see different things like out the window. A little bit of chatter, the hiss, the yowl that you'll sometimes hear at night, the caterwaul, which is very similar to the yowl. There are screams and snarls and growls. All of them are defense and welcoming things, just like people. It's saying stop, it's saying come here, those various things. A playful cat is also something that you want to observe and keep your eyes attentive to because you want to make sure they don't get overstimulated when they're playing. Generally, they'll look playful with their ears forward, their body a little tense like they're expecting something. That stalking movement, including that little wiggle butt that you see. Their pupils won't be real big. They'll be that kind of slit. You'll hear a little bit of talking, sometimes a little chattering at you. And like we said, you have to watch if they get too carried away because you know that they can get really enthralled with that. And then you have to calm down a little bit. When cats are fearful, they also give you that indication. One of the prime indication is they're hiding and trying to be invisible in the back of a cage or in a room if they're already out. You'll hear some growling, which can be a low kind of sound, and that hissing that we all know. Their body can be tense, but not in that playful kind of way. At times they can lick their lips. They'll have wide eyes, and their pupils will be very dilated. Their face and their body will not be looking directly at you. They're trying to keep down, and they'll try to shrink away from you. Primary goal of Providence is safety, safety of both the animals and our people. One of the best things that you can do while interacting with cats is to definitely trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, back off, close the gate, and seek assistance. Avoid touching the belly or the hind legs, as we said before, and they're not always so good about their feet. Watch out for warning signs that a cat's about to scratch or bite. The tail flicking, the ears back, those dilated pupils, those things. If you need help or advice, feel free to ask any staff member, any volunteer there. You will definitely get the help you need. If by chance you do get injured by a cat, you want to make sure you make a loud noise that'll stop the cat from doing whatever it was doing with you originally, such as ow, very loudly, or a deep, low voice saying no is another way to interact with a cat that is acting in a way that you need them to stop. Always, always clean the bite or scratch immediately after it happens. If bitten, don't hesitate to get medical care. It's very easy to get an infection in a puncture wound, which is what occurs with a cat's claws and teeth. Make sure that you report every incident, no matter how small it might seem to be to a staff member. It does not look negatively upon the cat or yourself. It happens. A lot of cats are escape artists, especially cats kept in kennels, because they sit there all day trying to figure out, how do I get out of here? So as soon as they see a chance, they're going out that little cage door. If the cat is not cat friendly and escapes into the cat room, first thing you want to do is, if you see a staff member, let them know that first. Get any of the other cats up off the floor to avoid a fight if possible. You want to look for any objects to put between the two cats if you need it. Whatever you do, don't put your hands in between the two cats.
Hi! I'll let you in on a secret. We cats say a lot just by using our ears, tail, eyes, and body posture. That's why I want you to be one of those people who can communicate with animals by reading our body movement and facial expressions. When I'm just chilling but not sleeping, I put on my neutral and relaxed pose. My ears are forward but relaxed, and maybe just slightly to the side. They aren't perked forward or turned back. My tail is curved loosely towards my body, and it's not twitching. If you look closely, you might be able to see an almond-shaped black center in my eye. My mouth is closed, and my whiskers aren't perked forward or pulled back. Here's what I look like when I'm catching some Z's. I curl up in a ball. All the muscles in my face and body are relaxed. Some cats relax in some strange ways. Just like you, we don't like to be startled when we're sleeping. When you've just come home and I am happy to see you, I look something like this, relaxed but interested. When something piques my interest, I shift my weight forward a bit and lower my body. I might be ready to pounce on something, or preparing myself to get the heck out of there. I perk my ears and whiskers forward and stare at what has my attention. Perhaps you just pulled out a new wand toy for me to chase. I might have my tail up and moving it gently, or resting on the ground and ticking slightly. Or if I'm really excited by something, I might thrash my tail back and forth and my pupils might expand some. Okay, here's how I might look when nervous or afraid. Just like with excitement, there are different ways we act depending largely upon how upset we are. 4 easy categories to remember are the 4 Fs: fret or fidget, freeze, flight, and fight. It's no fun to be scared, especially when the people around us don't realize we're nervous about something. If you see these signs, take a look around and see if you can figure out what is concerning us. When we're fretting or fidgeting, we first avoid direct eye contact by ignoring you or turning our head away. If you'd like to interact with us, it's best to play hard to get and avoid eye contact with us. If I'm nervous, my whiskers go back slightly, closer to my cheeks, and my tail is closer to my body. If I'm irritated, I might flick the tip of my tail and my ears will go to the side slightly. My pupils may get larger and my eyes may look darker. I might even tuck down and turn to look at you as I pull my ears further to the side, tuck my tail closer. I begin to breathe harder, and if you watch my chest, you'll see it moving faster. If you see me completely freeze, I have become so frightened that I'm quite literally scared stiff. My pupils are large and I flatten my whole body down, so my feet are tucked under me and my tail's likely curled up so tight I'm hugging myself with it. Pay attention because I can move through these stages pretty quickly. Flight takes place when I try to escape a situation. I might poof up my tail to make it look bigger. My ears are out to the side, and I try to back away while keeping my eyes on whatever is threatening me. If my previous attempts at communication haven't been received, I might speak even louder and escalate to a bigger shout. This is when people often label us as a bad cat, but we're just trying to tell you that we're afraid. At the fight stage, we might display defensive aggression. My ears, tail, and body are lowered. I lean away, ready to run if given the chance. I will probably hiss and show my teeth and try to strike out with a paw. Sometimes cats go unheard for so long that they learn offensive aggression. I lean forward. My ears and whiskers are forward, or may tuck back slightly as I make my move. Meanwhile, my tail will drop down and slightly out in the back. I might wag it or flick it some. This isn't a sign that I am happy. I'll raise my back end higher by standing on my tiptoes as I approach. Please hear us before we get to this point. You now know what we look like when we are relaxed, happy, excited, and alert, as well as how we might communicate fear through fret or fidget, freeze, flight, or fight. When you know what to look for, you'll realize just how much we say to people on a daily basis. You'll be able to talk back to us in a way we understand and give us help when we need it.